Yeah.
Do you style yourself? And I love that we did a real hard pivot from like asking the president, but I also know that the girlies want to know.
Yeah, but I actually think this is important because I love reading about other people's routines and stuff because I always get inspiration from it. I style myself because I just think you know yourself better than anyone else. Yeah. And I also dress for comfort. Like I don't wear dresses ever. Like I wore a skirt to the White House maybe like 6 months ago. And people were like, "Oh my God, she's wearing a skirt!" Like because I wear
the talk of the town.
I wear a
suit. When Obama wore a tan suit, and that was like the craziest thing that had happened that year.
This was my tan suit moment.
That was your tan suit moment. I miss the days of just being like, "He's in a tan suit," right?
I know, and I love that anytime anyone wears a tan suit now, you're like that moment.
But so they thought you were living on the edge because you had worn a skirt. Like, but because Caitlin's not doing well, check her head.
No, they're just like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize it until everyone commented on it. But I think I just wear a suit every day. I wear a blazer every single day. I have 2 million blazers probably because I just feel comfortable in it. And I think when you're covering the White House, when I started covering the White House, I was not sure what to wear on TV. I was kind of figuring out what my style was. I do not want to have to think about what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm at work, I don't want to think about that when I'm going to the briefing room. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel anything, or even on air at night. Like I want that to be the last thing that I think of. Because I'm focusing on other stuff. And it really aggravates me if I've put so much work into this interview or these briefing questions, and then I'm worried like about how my jacket's fitting or whatever.
And men never have to worry about this. They have the same 3 jackets. Yeah. I mean, and I know that some of the on-air guys can be even more divas when it comes to like their beauty routines. But truly, like men never have to worry about it. And I want to commend you too, and not just for being a woman, but I'm sure the amount of bullshit that you have to deal with being a woman in this space, having to hold your own, and then on top of it, dealing with it's like here you are interviewing President Zelensky, and then like one asshole on the internet's just like, show me your jugs, or hated you in a blue jacket, and you're like, what are we doing here? This is living hell. How do you navigate? I mean,
but I think all women deal with that,
of course.
Like truly, no matter what your job is, whether you're on television or not.
You can work at T-Mobile and you're getting harassed.
Well, I think that's why when the president was saying, I've never seen you smile, I think that's why it resonated. Especially, I had so many messages from women because I think so many people know what that feels like. Yeah. And I think a lot of men who also I actually got a lot of messages from them too, but so many, when has a man ever been told to smile?
Never. Yeah.
Or to smile more. And so I just think it resonates with people. And I think, all of these things of like how you navigate this world. Luckily for me, I've been on TV for, 8 years now. And so it really doesn't faze me. Like I truly have developed a thick skin because I hear feedback all day long, whether I get on a flight and it's the person sitting next to me or wherever you are, when I go home to Alabama, like you're just kind of constantly taking in incoming of what people think of you. And I think that's why
that is so true.
Yeah.
You really just hit the nail on the head of what it's like to be, what it is like to have a female experience. It is constant feedback. Mm-hmm. Wow, Kaitlan, I mean, I try and say it on stage, and I'm always talking about like, we can only speak from the female experience, but it's constant feedback. Yeah. When you didn't ask for it, you're out here just trying to do your job, and regardless of how you could cross your T's, dot your I's, but somehow you're going to have feedback. And it's like, I didn't ask you for feedback.
Yeah, positive, negative.
There's negative,
just so much
indifferent,
incoming. And that's why I think of young women coming up and like there's so much online and everyone's doing this product or this treatment or whatever. It's just overwhelming, I think, to do that. And that's why my point of having a close circle of friends and family, people that you trust, people that you love, that you can go to and say, what did you think about this? You can't take everyone's opinion at the same level. And so I have a few people that I really value their advice, that are super honest with me. And that's who I listen to. And that's who I, talk to when I'm like worried about how something went or if it went well. You cannot take everyone's opinion, though, at face value or whatever. And so I just think, as a young woman, that is something you have to learn and develop because you want to have that thick skin and that confidence in who you are. Because if you're just listening to everyone, like you're listening to no one. Like it's just noise. It all drowns out.
Wow. What is do you have like any sort of routine that you do before you're about to walk in and ask the president of the United States hard-hitting questions? Like, do you have a playlist that you listen to psych yourself up? Or is there any sort of like moment before that you have? Because we all have it, like as performers, we all have that moment before we walk out on stage. I'm just curious if you have your special, specific routine.
I think one thing that I've learned is that you're not always going to be afforded that moment in the moment when you want it. And one thing about being on television that I learned, which has actually been, really helpful in terms of just you figure it out as you go. And CNN is really good about that of like, you don't need to have years of broadcast experience to go be on air at CNN. Like I truly none. Like I think I've been on TV maybe twice. And they're like, okay, this is your job now. But that was actually really helpful for me because I mean, when you're in the briefing room and you don't have that moment of just quiet to sit there and think about your questions. You're standing up and you're doing TV and there's 50 reporters sitting in front of you, watching you, and there's someone standing next to you who's also talking, and you're trying not to listen to what they're saying while you're looking at the camera and delivering your report. And so I try to have those moments in the morning or before where like I've already got my questions, I'm already ready to go, because I want to be able to feel calm and confident in the moment of like, here's what I want to ask. But also if I want to pivot, I feel like I'm in a good headspace to do that. Like I'm listening to what's actually happening and what they're saying. Or if they don't answer someone else's question, I want to follow up on that. And so I think you have to find those moments for yourself, but don't always expect it to happen right before. I think you can find it in the morning or the night before or something like that.
And how do you decompress? Like after walking, specifically what happened to you this week, like after walking out, like what is everybody else saying to you? Are they just like, you good girl? Like, hey, I mean, what is that moment after?
The press corps is amazing. Yeah. Like I actually think that this is a misconception about the press corps, which is that we're all like battling one another. Or we don't get along. I actually love the White House press corps so much, and it's not perfect. It's not, obviously like there's a lot of criticism of it sometimes, and I don't think the press is above criticism at all. But I will say there's a lot of camaraderie in the press corps among reporters, photographers, the camera guys, audio guys, everyone. Because you're all kind of waiting in the briefing room. You're all sitting around waiting for something to happen.
You're in the trenches together.
Like news is not always just like bam, bam, bam. It's like you're waiting, nothing happens, and then something happens really suddenly. And so you do develop like relationships with people. Like our CNN booth is right next to Fox News. Like all the others are upstairs. Like we're all just kind of chatting. We all share we call it the lavatoria. It's, speaking of not being glamorous. Yeah. It's the kitchen and the 2 bathrooms are in the kitchen. So like you're all just on top of one another.
And it's the size of these chairs. I've been there.
It's tiny.
It's tiny. I mean, somebody's heating up a lean cuisine while somebody else is having an upset stomach.
If someone heats up fish, we're like, are you kidding me? Like it will, like mutiny will.
Yeah, what are the rules? It's like, listen, no more spaghetti rigatoni this week, right?
Yeah, it's just like you cannot heat up fish. Yeah, that's like the number one rule.
No, we cannot heat up fish.
The briefing room will start to smell.
Okay.
But anyway, my point of that is, I love the people that I report with every single day. The people on our team, the other members of the press corps too. And so when you come out of a moment like that, there is a lot of solidarity. And I think a lot of people are like, and I've known all these guys for almost 10 years now. Right. And so I actually think there's a ton of camaraderie in the press corps in that sense, which I think is important and that there should be. And you should support people who are, doing the same job as you and just trying to do their jobs.
So like seeing, I had like a visceral reaction when Trump tells one of the reporters on Air Force One to quiet down, Piggy. And is there a sense of camaraderie with other female reporters specifically? Like, hey, girl, you good? That's insane.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. And I reached out to her after that because it's just inappropriate. And I think you have to at least say, hey, that's not cool. Or I can remember when the president did this to Wei Zhejiang when we were in round 1, and she asked him a question about COVID, and he told her to go ask China that question. Oh, God. And she grew up in West Virginia, and so we just, in that moment, and he tried to move on to me in that moment, and I was like, no, she's a follow-up, and I'm going to let her follow up, because it was just like, you can't, someone has to stand up for it and, have a backbone in that moment, because if you don't in that moment, one, it sends a message to the press corps, but also it sends a message to everyone who's watching. Yeah. And I do think solidarity is important. I don't think everyone has to ask the same question. I think reporters can ask what they want to ask. They showed up that day. But I do think following up and solidarity is effective. Right. And it only furthers all of our jobs and mission.
Well, I just want you to know that it is such a pleasure and a joy to watch you stand your ground and just honestly be a baddie. And I know that you are truly every day just doing the Lord's work and putting out fires.